Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about loops, and we're going to do a tutorial using a QuickMart setup. Okay, so it'd be kind of like us working on just any old loops for repetition for some business application specifically. So let's maybe get some notes in here, and let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. And so let's say that this is going to be a loops and repetition for business applications, for business apps. So QuickMart Sales Analysis. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is maybe let's grab some data. And so I'm going to actually just go on and grab some pre-made data here. And let me zoom out just a little bit so we can see it real quick. And we can see here that we have a sales data object. Okay, notice the curly braces around it, so or it's a dictionary, okay, and it has a mapping. So we have each store name. So we have downtown, suburb mall, west side, university, and each of those also has in with it an array here, or a list of months of the data. So 12 elements. A 12 element list of monthly sales data. Now, we also we're going to say that these are going to be the locations. So, for example, here we want to get each of these keys. Well, we can do this in a couple different ways, and we'll do this maybe not necessarily the most straightforward way, but I'm going to teach you a couple different ways to navigate these rules, so to speak, okay, and different examples. So we want to create up a list of the sales data dot keys, and this is just going to give us a nice list that we have here, okay? And we also want, let's actually give us a proper list of months as well. So here we have all of our months, and we need to make sure that we understand something here, is that the index 0 is for January, and the end is December, which would be 11. Okay, so that's going to matter, okay, because the assignment that we're going to be doing, all right, is going to rely on the month indices starting from 0 to 11, and they're going to match up each month order so that it ensures that our indices are going to line up with the names for our printing. So first, let's create up, and I'm going to just zoom in just a little bit here, and I'm going to create up a monthly totals, and this is going to be a nested for loop. So first off, we're going to have a goal here of creating up a monthly totals list, okay, and so we're going to expect that this is going to hold 12 floats. So what is our approach to this? First off, this first thing here is we're going to initialize a monthly totals as an empty list. So that's what we did here. And we need to make sure it's going to be 12 floats in size. Now, for each month index, we're going to go from 0 to 11. We're going to sum over the month's salary, or the month's sales across all the stores, and then we're going to append the sum to the summary totals. So let's go on and do that. For M in range of 12, okay, because I want to practice us using the range here. This is going to create up, this here is an outer loop over months, okay? Then we also want to have in here a month sum is equal to 0.0, okay? And then we're going to say for store in sales data, month sum plus equals our sales data store for each of our months, M. Now this here is the inner loop over the stores. So when we are going through this, all right, what are some of the pitfalls that we may fall into and that we need to avoid? Well, don't sum over the wrong dimension, okay? So we want to sum across here, all right? We're summing across stores for each month, okay? So then this keeps totals in line with the month indices, okay? So now let's say we want to find the best, worst months. And we want to use range with the length of something plus some conditionals. Okay? So we have a couple goals here, and I'm gonna actually I'm gonna copy and paste some stuff from my notes here. And we want to have a couple things here. We want the highest month index, okay? This is going to be an integer. We want the lowest month index, which is also going to be an integer. So this is telling us, hey, this is the month that has the location here, or here, for example, where we have the lowest score, the highest score. We also want the highest sales data. We want the lowest score sales data. And we'll talk about each of these in turn here in a minute. But what we're going to do, and let's talk a little bit about our approach. So we're going to walk over our monthly totals, okay? So technically this monthly totals, because we're adding all this stuff in. We're going to walk over it by index so that we can capture the month position, all right? Now the first element is going to be initialized best and worst with the value or index. Now for each subsequent index, we're going to update the trackers if the new is going to be high or low, or then it appears. So let's go on and do that. So we'll say for I in range, and we'll say maybe 1 to length of our monthly totals. Okay. For monthly totals of I is greater than our highest sales. Okay, and so, oops, and this is if. I don't know why I said for here. Now, if, so what's happening here? We're grabbing and we're saying, so anything is going to be higher than our initial value of 0 here. And we're saying, all right, we want to test out these values. So anything is going to be higher than 0. So we're going to assign that as the new highest sales value. Highest sales is equal to monthly totals of I, and then our highest monthly index now is going to be of I. Okay, and that's only if this is true. Now we're going to do the same thing though, and actually I'm just going to copy this, and we'll do some changes to it. Okay. So if monthly totals now is less than our lowest sales, and notice here we set this to infinity because again, any number is going to be less than infinity. Infinity is going to be the highest number. Any number that we can possibly get is going to be higher than that. So we can change this now to lowest and lowest, doing the same exact thing. And so the question is why do we want to iterate by index? Now you need that index later so that we can print out the month name. So ergo, if we did something later on like months of highest month index, it would actually give us the exact month that is the highest. Okay, so next up, let's set up the average monthly sales. And this is going to be a loop accumulator. Okay, or some people call it a loop accumulation. That's fine. So what is our goal here? All right. Our goal is to create up an average monthly sales. It's technically what we want, okay? So, and we're not gonna worry about it just quite yet, okay? But let's go on and do this. Now, what do we use? We're going to use a loop. So let's we're going to use a loop to compute the sum of our monthly totals. So we also need to divide that by 12 to get our average, and we also want to round or format for when we're going to be printing this out. So let's give ourselves an accumulator. Okay, and it's going to be just our sum totals of 0.0, and say for val in monthly totals, we want to sum our totals plus equals that value. And then at the end of all of this, we want to create up our average monthly sales. And so we're going to round this to be sum totals divided by 12, and we're going to round it to 2 decimal places. Now, we can use this sum monthly totals, okay, over here, actually down here and stuff inside the loop, but we're specifically asking us to usually use a loop. We can do this in a couple different ways. Again, this is how we're going to manually do this. There are other ways to do this. Again, I just want us to practice using our loop accumulators. So let's do another one. And let's say that we want best performing store. And we're going to, again, practice looping over the stores. And we're going to have a goal here. We want to find the best store. And then we also want the best store sales. Okay. So, and again, what we can tell about this, we want this to be a string, and we want this one to be a float. So what are we going to do with this? What is our best way to solve this? Okay. Well, we want to iterate through each store in our sales data. That's all of this up here. Okay. And then we want to compute the store's annual sum of all of its 12 months. And we want to track the max total and the store name. So let's say best store is equal to some empty string. Oops. Some empty string, and we want the best store sales to be an empty float here. So for store in sales data, we can grab our total sales is equal to the sum of our sales data of the store. Now here, we could also loop accumulate here if we actually need to, but well, let's save that for a little bit here. Now, if the total sales is greater than the best store sales, okay, we can have best store sales is now equal to round total sales of 2, count, round, and then we say best store is equal to store. Now, if you notice something, and just to kind of get your mind on how to maybe run algorithms and things, notice this type of loop here is identical to what we did up here. Okay? And the same way we have this for, we have this if, we're checking a condition and then we're saving it inside, just as we did here. This looks identical to how we do. So if we're looking for best performance, worst performance, those types of things, we now have this algorithm that we can use to loop over things. Okay? So now let's go and do our monthly performance report. Okay? This one, let's use a while loop, a while loop. And we want above or below average. So our goal here is going to have a performance report. All right. So again, so let's put that in here. We'll want a performance report. And this is basically going to be a list of strings. Now, what is our approach? We want to loop through using a while loop. Okay, so we'll use a while loop from I is equal to 0 to I is less than 12. So first off, let's instantiate a performance report. And again, we want it to be empty here. We want to instantiate or initialize here a counter variable for ourselves. So while I is less than 12, because there are 12 months out of the year, total is equal to monthly totals of I. And we're going to have an indicator here. It's going to be above average. And we'll do an inline if statement here. So if total is greater than equal to average monthly sales. So this is actually a generator, okay? And say else below average. Okay, so this is our indicator. It's going to say either above average or below average. Now, let's actually have a nice line. So I'm going to use an F string here to say months, I. And then we want a $sign total, and we want this to have two float decimal places, dash, whatever the indicator is going to be. So we then have our performance report, and we want to append the line. And again, since this is a while loop here, we need to make sure that we are keeping everything safe, and we need to increment the I in the loop to avoid an infinite loop. So I plus equals 1. So just a reminder here, okay? We're using this :2f here to keep our currency alignment, and want to keep our messages short, consistent, and readable. So that's also what this line is for here. Now finally, let's do a little bit of a bonus question here. And this is, we want to find the longest consecutive growth streak. Okay, so our goal here would be a longest growth streak, and that's going to be an integer. And we also want a growth streak start, which will also be an integer. So first off, let's actually define a growth streak. Okay, so a growth streak is a run of strictly increasing monthly totals. So specifically would have something like this, and I'll just put this in there as a note for us. We want our monthly totals of I being greater than monthly totals of I minus 1. Okay, so and that's for each step of the streak. Now, what is our approach to this? Well, first off, we want to walk all of the months, okay, from 1 to 11, or technically from range 1 to 12. We want to compare each month to the previous. We want to track the current streak length, so how many steps of the increase in the row. We want to track the best streak length and the index where the best streak started. When an increase continues the streak, we're going to increment when it breaks and then reset. Okay, so this is a lot, and so let's actually kind of write this out then. So we want the longest growth streak. Longest is always going to start out at 1, okay, because they need at least 1 month. And then the growth streak start is going to start at 0. And then we want our current streak length. Again, it's going to start out at 1. And then our current streak start is going to be equal to 0. So let's start this out. For range in range of 1 to 12. Whoops. Let's do if monthly totals of I is greater than our monthly totals of I minus 1. Notice that is exactly what we had up here, just to kind of give us some good context here. Now, from that, we want to say current streak length plus equal 1, if that's true. Okay, so if today or this month is more profitable than last month, our streak needs to increase by 1. Okay, now there are a couple other things that we could think about here. Like if we want to, we could potentially add in continue in here. Okay, but here, this could be if we want to keep the loop minimal. All right, but it's not necessary in here, so I'm going to not worry about it now. Now the next here, we're going to have an else for this if. And this is going to be if the streak is broken. So, all right, we want to check if the current one is the best. Okay, so if current streak length is greater than the longest streak, longest growth streak is equal to the current growth streak length, and then our growth streak start, and I need an extra T there. Our growth streak start is equal to the current streak start. All right, now we need to get in line with this if statement here. Okay, and here we are going to reset for a new streak starting at I. So we say current streak length is equal to 1, and then our current streak start is equal to I. Okay, so that does that part. Now finally, here we want to check in case the best streak ends at December. So if the current streak length is greater than our longest growth streak, then longest growth streak is equal to our current streak length. Then our growth streak start is equal to our current streak start. So how are we going to interpret these results here? Okay, so let's go up here, and I'll talk about what each of these is. Okay, so the longest growth streak is the number of months in the longest increasing run. Okay, the growth streak is starting month index of that run. Okay, and again, if we wanted to print its name, we would use something like month's growth streak start. Okay, now that will be good for that point. So now let's go through and actually notice we don't have any output here, right? So let's go on and make some output. Now first off, we're going to put out just some basics. So QuickSmart Sales, we're going to put a nice line here of 62 equal signs. And then let's go on and have our output look nice here. And so let's say something like print f string best month, and this is going to be months highest month index, and then we're going to put a nice dash in here, $, highest sales, and again we want this to 2 decimal places. We're going to do the similar thing here, but we're going to say the worst month, and we want the lowest month index and the lowest month index. Now, after that, we want to do the average. Okay, so let's print an F statement here. Average monthly sales. And again, in here we want $, and we want average monthly sales. And again, we want this to 2 decimal places. Then let's also print another F string here, the best performing store here, and we want best store. And then let's add in what their actual best store sales were. Best store sales, and again we want this to 2 decimal places. And then let's print in here another F string of the longest growth streak. And this is going to be longest growth streak months starting in months of growth streak start. Okay, and I'll zoom out a little bit. Notice it's quite long for that one, but we'll come back to it here in a second. Now, we can also print out a monthly sales report if we wanted to. So we can say print monthly performance report. Yeah, performance report works. Okay, and do print, let's give it some dashes multiplied by, well, the other one was 62, so let's do 62 as well. And we'll say for line in performance report, print line. Okay, and let's go on and run this. So I'm gonna run it in a nice, oh, let me select a Python interpreter here. Oh, and we have one error here. And I should have caught that at the very beginning. So maybe you guys probably were screaming at me. But it's sales data dot keys here, not key. Oh, and we are saying monthly totals of I. Okay, so let's say, oops, let me run that again so we can see exactly where. Monthly totals of I, line 64. So line 64. Line 64, line 64, So here, it doesn't like something. So let's think about this. Y does not like this. So let's run it again. Well, let's actually read the error here. It says index out of range. Okay, so we have our monthly total sales. Okay, and for some reason it says that our index from 0 to 12 is out of range. My guess is because we need to be from 0 to 11. Nope, it doesn't like that either. So let's double check what we've done wrong here. Okay, so we'll put that back to 12 for now. It says, so error index out of range. So let's actually do this just kind of as a check, okay? So we need to double check right here. It's saying that this is out of range. So we're gonna go up to where we created our monthly totals. And again, this is a good way for you to learn how to debug. So let's do print monthly totals. Okay, so we can actually take a look at it and make sure that we didn't accidentally do something incorrect here. Okay? Or, well, actually it's here. Monthly totals, when we're adding it in. Monthly totals, monthly totals, monthly totals. Yeah, right here. Okay. Where did we, you know what? That is going to be Y. Okay, so notice something. When we did this section right here, we forgot to add something very important. We created up this monthly sales total, okay? And we did not add in any of this. All of this stuff that we did here, we didn't add it to our monthly totals. So let's make sure and do that. So monthly totals.append round month sum comma 2. All right. So again, this is a good practice for you guys, particularly whenever if you're running through and you're writing lots of code and things start to mess up. Start hunting down where you've made those mistakes. So now let's run this. All right, and it's still saying now our monthly totals is greater than 0. We have another error. So let's find out where this particular error is. Now notice here, I printed this out so we can actually see how this is. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good. So this is 12 long. Okay. So now it's saying on line 82, we have our monthly totals is having an error here. So let's go and look at line 82. Let's look at our monthly totals. Okay. We have line 82. Oh, and notice here I said for range and range, this needs to be I. Okay, so for I in range of I. Okay, so now let's run this again. Oh, and there it is. We have our perfect report here. So we have our QuickMart Sales Analysis with our best months, worst months, average month, best performing store, longest growth streak, and then we have all of our performance report added in. And notice here, we probably didn't need it to be all of those 60. Okay, so I hope you guys found this useful and helpful. And if you guys like this, please comment, subscribe, hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.